From the future free from fossil fuels, you're watching the Tesla Life. Live with your host, Mark Congressman!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 387. Here we are on the 27th of November, 2024, and we have a cold day where I am. But let's not go into that at this point. Let's move on and introduce our co-hosts. As normal, we have Mr. Casey Green joining us from the Mid-Atlantic. How are you today, sir?
Hello, happy Thanksgiving Eve for those of you non-Canadians in North America.
Very good. That's right. The holiday's tomorrow. That's right.
Yes.
You guys are ready to start eating that turkey. Also with us, we have Mr. Brian White joining us from Future Raza on the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
I am delighted to be an honorary Patrick for the week. I can't fill those shoes, but I will do my best. It is, you mentioned the weather, and of course, I've got to always show off how nice and brisk it is in here.
55. Not
yeah,
bad.
yeah. Well, that's pleasant. It keeps me on my toes, which are very chilly at times. So yeah, it's out here living the dream.
Yeah, I was out for a walk before going live, and it was 30 degrees. So it's starting to get cold now.
63 here outside.
Well, we've got a ton of news, which is common for our weekly Tesla roundup, and let's get into some of it. Let's
start with this down here.
What's that? What's happening down there?
The Tesla referral program has been doubled. So whatever it is in loonies, it's $2,000 now. It's stackable for a lot of the programs, and
so I was contacted by. So I have a friend in Arizona, and he's been driving a Leaf forever. And I said, "Hey, man," when I went to visit him, I said, "Have you driven it?" I said, "No, I haven't." I said, "Would you like to drive a Tesla?" And he said, "No," because he knew. Anyway, I got an email from Tesla. He has placed his order. He's picking it up in a few days. And he not only got the $7,500 point of sale credit and the $2,000, but the VA bonus as well. They stack. Nice. They stack.
Yeah.
So that is magical. And then, of course, I get a store credit, which I could use towards what I will use it for is supercharging when I go on my road trips and whatnot. So that'll be a lot of miles.
Exactly. So we're stacking up. We're doubling up some of the credits.
Even Cybertruck qualifies.
The reason, of course, is that we're getting close to the end of the year, and Tesla likes to roll out the red carpet when we get down into the last few weeks of a quarter. Typically, this year, certainly, there's been deals upon deals. So it will be true
and more reliable about that old adage about the end of the month, end of the year with Tesla than it has been with any car dealership I've ever worked at.
Yeah,
some of them would do it, but like if we were close to our numbers, it was just another day. If we weren't, we look like Tesla does now. But they just do that anyway.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they seem to be more freewheeling with this year. With, of course, they're chasing numbers. They want to make sure that they're producing the proper amount of vehicles to keep the factory humming. And there's this talk that you want a certain amount of vehicles that you're selling, so you get the volume discounts when you're buying from your suppliers. You don't want to be stocking up extra parts that aren't being used in cars and storing those parts, and that's costing you money. So there's a tightrope that they walk at all times. If you can sell everything you got, then that's wonderful, no problem there. But if you're under what you need to sell and you're storing things and you're paying for storage and the bills are coming in, you want to make sure that you can push everything you can out the door per quarter, and of course for end of fiscal year, which is what we're running up against now.
I think another factor is that they really want to beat last year's number. I think anything short of last year's number would be, even if we're talking a difference of 2 cars, one more than last year versus one less than last year, psychologically, it is a big deal. And I think they want to have record after record. And that's, you got to pull some demand levers. Fortunately, Tesla uniquely has demand levers. If Ford or GM offered you thousands of dollars of in-store credit, what on earth would you use it for? Service appointments? Nope, that money has to go to the dealer. There's no markup there. For accessories, again, that's dealer money. The company would have to pay full freight on those. So no, what would you actually use it for? Towards the purchase of another car? What, are you going to buy one every single year just so you can burn through your credits? Come on.
Yeah, because they do expire.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point, that that Tesla is in this unique position. But Brian, don't you think that that is there a limit to this? Is there, this past year, and of course we've had the interest rate hike, and there was the slowdown in the general public's buying of vehicles. We see it in the automotive industry everywhere. All the others are having difficulty selling vehicles. They're all lower than expectations were. But can this be a problem if this continues?
A demand problem? Well, so yes and no, but I would say, so I thought you meant, is there a limit to referrals? There is, it is 10, but they have reset it for the year for everyone. So if you've already hit your 10, you can get another 10. Good for them. For those of us who hadn't hit our 10, less exciting, but is there
today? I was like, wow.
Yeah. Is there a limit to the demand levers you can pull? In theory, yes. In practice, we're so far from it. Add a new color. You're right back in the game.
Advertise.
Advertise. But you could also, I don't know, refresh the Juniper. Yeah, that's going to be the biggest one. I think that's going to move the most units, because I know a lot of people who are who love their Model Y, but really want the new one, and they will kick those over to the secondary market, and then we're right back in business. So. And
that was not a simple switch. That one takes some effort.
Yeah. It's a little more complicated. Sure, Casey, I guess. But yeah, and then you've got, for that matter, you've got additional models that will help.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen people saying, having the discussion, will Tesla energy be bigger than automotive by some year? 2030 is the year I hear. And I say, well, are you including CyberCab? Does that count as automotive, or are you calling that something else? Because it is a product, but it's not a car in the traditional sense. If you're counting that, I'm going to say automotive is still going to be bigger.
If you count that only as a sale, not the service,
then automotive is still bigger, because once CyberCab is working and at scale, the revenue.
The revenue, yes, but not the sales. It'll be rides.
Sales.
It'll
sell it to us.
It'll be money generated by a service, not by money generated by a sale of an automobile.
But it'll be both. It'll be both.
Well, so is the energy, though. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Matter transfer.
Yeah.
Excellent. Energy will get there.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, if you're in the chat, say hello, because
there's a lot of I don't see nothing.
I'm seeing nothing. And I did put this out on X, so if you're coming over from X, welcome. All my exes live in Texas.
Oh man, there we go. We got Store Cuber.
The Cuber has commented. All my exes live in Texas. Okay. Well, speaking of Texas, that's a great segue to our next story. And our buddy and friend in the skies over Texas, Joe, has produced a couple of videos and photographs, and let's show one of Joe Tegmeyer's videos here. And of course, the link for Joe will be in the comments. But for now, let's just share this and see the video that he was able to grab.
A cool video. There's no music in that one, so you're fine.
This CyberCab's got a chaser of a Model 3.
It doesn't look like there's anybody in it, and it also looks like they tinted the windshield.
Yeah, it's dark, but at that side view, you could tell there was nobody in it.
Question for you: do you need? So it does look weird without mirrors, but do you need a windshield wiper?
Only for the camera.
So it's just gonna have a little widow's peak there, maybe, but you could also Rain-X the heck out of it, and yeah. I think that would do a reasonably adequate job. I think
for the conditions it's allowed to drive in, absolutely.
Yeah, you will need new road rules for that. And you're right, it does look like they tinted the windshield. Hey, it's already not street legal, so
yeah.
Let's see if we can get a sideways pause here.
I mean, it looks empty, but you could have somebody just way back in there.
Asleep.
Could be somebody.
No, you can't be asleep, because if work from home is immoral, then sleeping on the job is immoral. Unless you're on the factory floor after hours.
I don't think there's anyone in there.
It doesn't look like it.
So, yeah, that's kind of cool to see. When the vehicle was making its turn, mistakenly, I was looking for the turn signal to be higher, but it's down at the bottom of the bumper at the back.
At least I see people like to jam the door open, because like the brakes are down there, everything's down there.
Very low to the ground. The turn signal's on the back, whereas the front turn signals are in a typical spot. But and again, the staggered wheels. I really can't get over the staggered wheels.
Staggered, and what are they called when they're different sizes altogether? Because staggered is one of different widths.
Well, I just call that a hot rod, but I know what you mean.
Yeah,
big wheel.
It's kind of bizarre that they've gone with two different tire sizes on this vehicle. I just think that if this is going to be the fleet vehicle, and again, this may not be the final version. They're testing. There's going to be a number of things that are going to change, but having that vehicle with staggered size tires when you're going to maintain a fleet of them, I think that could be a problem. Well, you could do it certainly, but it could be more of a problem than it's worth. For the tires that you would have to only rotate in a certain fashion, you couldn't do a 4-tire swap, for example. You'd have to do 2 and 2.
Just mount them to rotate them.
Well, and I think that it won't. It'll have, those are just because I think it looks cooler and they wanted something that look cool for the demo. I think they're going to have not those low profile tires. They'll have very small wheels with very large tires, because those are vastly cheaper. Those are also and pothole friendly and comfortable, and replacement is cheaper, and you get better range for your battery. It's everything you want. And let's be honest, an old yellow cab looks cool, but that's not why it looks that way. It looked that way because that was just a cheap shape to make them. So that's what it'll be. Is, I don't need my city bus to look cool. It's just a bonus when it does.
That's just a bonus, though.
Yeah.
You don't want it not to look cool.
Yeah.
You're not looking to spend the extra effort on it. Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
And hello to Cuber, Fred, and JT. Now, talking to us in the chat room, so please send us a note. Let us know where you're from. That'd be great.
Well, the UK and Bessemer, Alabama, we know.
There you go. There you go. And next, let's talk a little bit about a topic that Brian knows quite a bit about. This is, of course, the bit of war that's going on between Elon and the governor of California. Mr. Newsom is, well, let's set it up. It's looking more and more like, based on the new administration in Washington, that the federal $7,500 credit will be axed at some point by that new administration. There has been a lot of talk about this. Of course, anything could happen, but this is what it's looking like at this point, based on what's happening in the news and what people are reporting upon anyways. So it turns out that California, thinking that this is the wrong way to push EV adoption, they have looked into the possibility of applying a new incentive for California residents that would either replace the $7,500 or take some of the sting out of that disappearing. They're putting a number of things on paper to see what would be plausible. And Mr. Newsom has indicated that Tesla could be excluded from this state incentive. Now, that's kind of weird because, of course, Tesla sells probably more than half the vehicles that are EVs in that particular state. It's always been an extremely popular vehicle in that state. And for a good amount of time, it was the only state that actually produced EVs in mass. And this is something that that looks like there's a bit of a war brewing between the both of them. Brian, you had a unique video that just came out recently, and maybe share some of your thoughts on that subject.
So since the video came out, I've been had a number of links shared with me that suggest maybe the 7,500 will remain. It looks like the overwhelming percentage of that benefit has gone to Republican-leaning districts. And if that's the case, those members of Congress would be unlikely to vote to repeal it. But we'll see. We know it was a campaign promise to get rid of it. And in doing so, California said, yeah, but when the country's at 8.5% adoption rate, it is not the time to be cutting incentives. And California really wants their air to remain as clean as possible. So they say, yeah, we'll do our own thing. And Gavin Newsom said, absolutely not. If you're going to get a guy elected who's going to cut our 7,500, you don't need 7,500. There are a number of ways they could do it that would make it legal. But, you know, they're engaging in an eye for an eye kind of battle where the only real losers are consumers. So somebody's got to grow up and be the bigger man. And I don't know if that's something either of them are capable of at this moment, maybe in the future. I know where I live, I'm in a very red place. My county went strongly for all the Republicans on the ticket, I think. And they are not Tesla friendly here. So whatever Elon is doing to make inroads with the conservative community is not working. They are, but you know, I always offered to take people on FSD rides to check it out. And it is, I do not get many takers. So it's an uphill battle. So what's the solution? I don't know. As our good friend, the Highlander, likes to say, he's a guy who's in all my comments and comes to some events. Kindness is always free. And it doesn't cost you anything to not be inflammatory. And of course, I said that was the whole thrust of the video is let's be nice. Let's try being nice. And the people who are not very nice came into the comments and said, absolutely not. So I was like, right, I am talking about you at that point. So that video
it's like a bunch of Grinches before the transformation.
Yeah. It's like a room full of 50 people and somebody goes, oh man, did somebody fart? And one guy goes, how dare you accuse me of that? So, well, okay. Well, we found the elevator farter. Thank you for self-identifying, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And it's one of those videos where it rubbed some people the wrong way. I was called too conservative. I was called too liberal. So I guess I'm both. I'm Schrodinger's voter, which is to say, with the hanging Chad, I really don't even know who I voted for.
It's interesting that one of the comments that were made is that no one likes a sore loser, but of course, if you're a sore winner, that's even worse. I think they've got to find a way not to butt heads. Like, this is not going to help either of them. It's not going to help the state of California. It's not going to help the EV adoption if they're going to battle over this. And it's something that they should find a way around to, like mentioned Brian, who's going to be the bigger man here? Who's going to be the person that can turn around and say, listen, it is what it is. Let's just roll forward with this. Let's try to make things as good as we can based on the circumstances that we've been dealt. And that's it. Like, no point in slapping the other side because you've gotten half rung up the ladder further. Let's all be considerate. Let's all be somebody that's going to be the bigger person here.
I like that you said a half rung, because you're right. It is so early in the game in the US for EV adoption that we are not 2-3 rungs up the ladder. We are half a step. And I can, if I may play devil's advocate for a second, Tesla really doesn't need the help. Maybe you set a cap where each manufacturer gets 5,000 credits a year or something like that. That would not come across as a punishment for Tesla. And I've seen people say, well, have you seen what a disaster California is? Right. I don't care. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the EV credit and EV adoption. Yeah, but this person's bad or that person. I don't care. Let's sell some cars. Can we sell some cars? So that's, it's apparently, yeah.
The issue is getting more butts and seats, and that's going to equivalent to more EVs on the road and more gasoline vehicles being turned in, and that's what we're after.
Yeah, well, remember the old program? We had to watch to see who was going to cross the threshold first and lose the credit because they sold too many.
I just wanted to mention real quick, Casey, you sound a little robotic. Do you have 2 microphones going or something? Okay.
He's got that. He had this issue last week a little bit where it sounds like there's a repeat, but it's not too bad, Casey. We'll get through it. We'll get through it.
I'm sorry.
And hello to John from Down Under, South Australia has joined us. RC Robinson's with us as well. I don't know where you're from, RC. Let us know.
From Upvoted.
I've never heard of Upvoted. That's a different country. So, Okay. So, let us know where you're from if you're in the chat room, and let us see where you're calling us from or where you're connecting from. Next. Let's move on to this. Tesla has started to put out a hiring for some teleoperators for both the CyberCab and for Optimus. Now, we saw this, of course, at the 1010 event at Warner Brothers Studios. We saw a number of Optimus robots being walked out into the crowd, and we were all amazed about their ability to interact with the crowd until we started to realize that a lot of this was teleoperation. There were people on the other end of the robots that were doing some of the movements of the hands and, of course, interacting with the crowd, playing rock, paper, scissors, all that kind of stuff. So we've seen this, and we've also talked about how the CyberCab may require some human operation as it's starting to get onto its routes, as it's understanding its placement, as it's leaving the Warner Brothers studio lot. There's going to be a lot of unique situations that are going to come up for that car when it's in autonomous mode, and there does have to be the ability that someone could get it out of trouble if it was in trouble. And this seems to be what this call out is for some new employees to be helpful in teleoperations, being able to maybe direct these autonomous vehicles or autonomous robots in certain ways based on what's being called out, what's being prompted for them to do.
Also got trolls, let's call them trolls, the people who abuse the RoboCabs in other cities.
So when I saw that news story, my first thought was, oh no, this is a very serious problem, because Tesla has been selling FSD for a price that cannot be enough money to include teleoperation. There are people who paid $6,000 for FSD on older cars. You could burn through that in teleoperation in a month if you are putting it out for any kind of serious hours. But then I saw and also Optimus. And I realized, no, these are not operators. These are guardrails. These are trainers or guardrails. I'm less concerned now, because if they tried to take the Waymo approach, you would have to charge. Well, you couldn't charge a flat rate because you don't know how much it would cost. You'd have to charge a subscription, and it would be thousands a month, because that's how much it costs. I think what I expect to see with early training of that variety is that the teleoperation would be something pops up, and all before they even can look at it, Cortex has suggested what it would have told the car to do. Because I think Cortex is going to be the teleoperator eventually, because no matter how good the cars get, it could always use another set of eyes from an amount of compute that is not available in the car. So I think the teleoperator would look at it and either say, good job, Cortex, or let's not do that. That seems absolutely terrifying.
That's Terminator stuff right there.
Well, so it's fun. In my town, there are only two real issues. The first is about half the time when I get to my little two-way stop. It's not a four-way stop. I think the car needs to know that, because I'm not convinced it's aware of that. But it'll get to that red light, and about half the time, it'll just stop. It just lives here now. This is my new home at this flashing red light. And the second problem is there's a no right on red, which is where it's like, I can't read. I'm going to go ahead and just breeze through this.
I'm going to do what I want to do.
I'm going to do what I want to do. I know I can't see well enough. That's why this particular sign is here. And every single time I disengage and say, come on, man, what are you doing? Yep. The problem is those are the only two issues in this town, and they're both within the first 2 minutes of my drive. So again, it's very frustrating. I would not, if I was going to take someone for a ride to show them, I would point the car in a different direction before engaging it. Otherwise, the demo would be deeply disappointing.
Another thing, I think these teleoperators, as Brian mentioned, are guardrails. I think this might be required for the regulatory approval in certain areas, that they're going to want to say, do you have some humans that are overlooking this test that you're going to roll out in our district? We would really like to see some people that are aware of what's going on, and you're not just giving this to the machine immediately to solve every problem that could arise. We would like to have some supervision, is what we would like. And I got to believe that some of the regulatory hurdles that are in front of Tesla to get these on the road in certain districts, and that some of the things that they're going to want to see as part of the package.
That is a fantastic point I hadn't considered. That, yeah, they may be legally required. Like in the early days of Waymo, they were required to have someone sit behind the wheel, even though they're not doing anything. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, boy, they took don't do anything to an extreme, unfortunately.
A deadly extreme, unfortunately.
A deadly extreme, unfortunately. I watched the footage. That unfortunate pedestrian really did pop out of nowhere. The street did not have street lamps, and it was avoidable. But I think if I had been driving in full meat operation, I think I may have still struck the pedestrian, but not at full speed.
Yeah. Hello to Colin from Southern Ontario joining us in the chat room. That's great.
I did want to mention to channel regular Lee Moon, hello, by the way, that I know it's still a good 6 hours away, but I will be in Chattanooga in March for the the Chattanooga Charge. It's a big Tesla event, March 29th and 30th. I know 6 hours is a long drive, but maybe you can join us.
Very good. And of course, letting everybody know that event is coming up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yeah,
and if I get to meet Casey on my trip to the coast, the East Coast ish, it would complete the
It would be the
Tesla Life Show
trifecta. It would be the
trifecta.
trifecta. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Around that day, you might meet all four of us.
Yeah.
Well, here is a photo, and we're going to share this and see if you guys can guess what we're looking at here. So let's grab that, share it, and get a load of the progress here. This, of course, is a large flying saucer that's landed in West Hollywood. No, it's not. It is the diner. It's the side of the diner, and you can see a screen being built here on the left-hand side, and you can see a screen that's already up at the center in a dark gray brown color. And of course, you can see version 3.5 superchargers in place. And in fact, who knows? These could be real version 4s. This is going to be such a marquee spot. They might put the version 4s in place here. When we don't have an open date, we don't know when that will be, but it's probably looking like early 2025, maybe Q1 would be my guess.
My guess is. Yeah, my guess is heat death of the universe, because this thing's been under construction for, I think, 9,000 years. So it's taking forever, and it is from what I can tell, I think it is a spaceship, but I'll reserve judgment.
Apparently, it's got a lot of LED lighting that runs around the sides and underneath the different flanges that you can see here. So this is going to be, it's going to look like a flying saucer that's been permanently landed in West Hollywood. But Casey, I know we've talked about this building apartment that's behind this particular screen. Man, you've got to be upset if you've got a balcony on one of the 4 floors that is just looking at a screen 24/7 for the rest of your time in that apartment. That's got to be frustrating.
Cuts down on the air conditioning bill, right? If it's an apartment, I'm less annoyed by proxy for those people. But if it's a condo and you already own it, and you're like, oh, there goes my resale. But I mean, it's not your air. They do have permits to build them. That was always a possibility. But I think it'd be, because if it's an apartment, they'll just discount those units in perpetuity, or tell you tough luck. So,
if it's student housing, then definitely tough luck. But it's I don't think they live in West Hollywood.
That's going to be tough luck if. Whether you're a condo owner, that's certainly worse, because you're right, you own it. But if you rented the apartment, it would still be a bit of a bummer too, because
lowers the air conditioning bill. I mean, you're getting free shade. We're not even going to charge you for it. And everyone,
do you own that building, Brian? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm saying the people in the other units are pointing and laughing at you until all the RGB lights come on and they add the 24-hour hum of a UFO to complete the motif. And the people in the other units are like, oh, this is worse. This is so much worse. Jerry, I can't get any sleep. The sign is too bright.
Oh my gosh, that would be.
You get all the inverted shortened movies you could watch.
You get all
the wrong side of the screen.
You get all the 97.
No, because it's a jumbotron style. It's like a daylight style.
Oh, it's front projecting.
It's not front projecting. It's like a TV screen. It's got the cubes.
Weird. Oh, cubes. Oh,
yeah. So you can't see the back. Just looks like the back of a TV.
Yep, that is exciting.
I was thinking it was a screen this whole time.
Well, we'll have to see when this starts to roll out. And of course, man, I'm going to visit it definitely at some point. I'm sure the two of you will if you're in the area. It's definitely going to be a draw for the Tesla community by far. It's going to be busy all the time. Well, we knew that from buying the adjacent lot to it because they knew that having like 30 stalls just was not going to do it. Yeah, you needed a lot more space for parking, and this place is going to be jammed. So it will be interesting as we start to roll into an operating spaceship.
The Kettleman City Supercharger used to be the big destination that people would go to. It's a really cool location. They had a barista, they had a gift shop, they had all that. And then a while back, someone went by and noticed it's all gone. All that's gone. They will be reopening it next week. So they weren't scaling back. They were just pausing to make it better. Well, maybe, but I think they were pausing to regroup and make it better. If you don't have enough $45 t-shirts, I know a place that has some.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, Brian, is that with the expanse of the Tesla network, with the expanse of the number of owners that own these cars and are traveling around, these destinations are going to be prime location for other retailers to set up as time goes along, because the Tesla community continues to grow. 2 million plus cars a year is putting that many customers out on the road. So you've got this draw that people are going to come to these locations, and why would you not rent out some of the spaces so businesses could be built, others can operate, others can benefit from the traffic that flows in and out. Like Tesla's got themselves a little gold mine when it comes to public charging at their sites, because it's a growing segment and it's going to continue to grow for the foreseeable future.
The one that I still use as the example of the best way to set up a charger is Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is for those who have not been to that part of the world. They range from Texas through the southeast. They come as far west as there's one in Colorado. They are a magnificent, huge gas station. You plug in, you charge, you head into the convenience store. They've got fresh barbecue. They've got homemade fudge. They've got all kinds of gifts and electronics that you might need for your road trip, whatever. And the amount of time it takes to charge, 15, 20 minutes, is perfect for a Buc-ee's stop. Yeah. You don't want to have chargers, level 3, level 4 chargers at a movie theater. That's much too fast. But level 2 is also kind of too slow. So you need to find the right place for it. I'll tell you who needs chargers. Sonic.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
Already parked right there in a stall. Just plug me in.
Plug me in and then order the food. Absolutely.
Or plug my car in. Either way.
Yeah. I'm thinking the old A&W, same thing. They come out to the car with the food. You're plugged in. You're getting juice for the car, and your food arrives. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's take a look at this particular photo. Casey, what do you know about this?
Let's take a look. There's a smaller one in there.
Exactly. There is a smaller car in there compared to the others that look like Model Ys. Or is it possible that these vehicles may be some other manufacturers' vehicles?
Yeah. That's what I think. I think they're benchmarking other vehicles. The odds of Tesla having this many different things to put out on display, and that the shorter one you pointed out, the one that looks more like a little sports car, it's definitely not roadster shaped. It doesn't seem like something that Tesla has in the works, but it's fun. It's fun to dream. It could. I mean, it could be, except that this has mirrors. Yeah. So it's not that. I don't know.
And the shapes do look, just a little bit different. So there could be a number of different manufacturer SUVs under these covers. And of course, this is Fremont Factory. And you wouldn't want to advertise being Tesla that you've got these other vehicles on site, probably, because of course they know that the drone army is as thick as flies. When anybody's out there, you're swatting them away. So you're trying to hide some things that you're doing, and that's what they're doing with these covers, most likely.
And it could be that maybe they're making a commercial, or I mean, we don't do commercials, where maybe they're filming some kind of promotional video, in which case they would want them covered so they don't get dusty, which would honestly
Yeah.
make more sense, because I've been to the boneyard at the Ford engineering building, where all of the vehicles that they are done scrapping, so to speak, tearing apart and whatnot, they end up in this little parking lot in the back. I got to see Ford's Argo AI vehicle. I got to see an actual Explorer with a CCS port on it. I got to see a lot of these things, and because there's no fence. And then a gentleman came over and said, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like, "Oh,
we're on the tour."
should we go? Should we go? And say, "Yeah, we should go. We should go. We don't want to be on your radar." And we finished the video elsewhere.
Indeed. Next thing we want to talk a little bit about is, of course, with Mr. Supercharger with us, is want to talk about Tesla's improvement of superchargers. They announced a little tweet where they talked about some of the changes that are ongoing and how it's going to make things easier. And I thought we would talk to Casey a little bit about what he read into that.
Yeah, we're talking about the long cable, short cable tweet, right?
Yep.
Yes. So they know when somebody's plugged in a not Tesla and which one it is. So they have started to anticipate and for better expectation management, they'll let you know that, hey, these two always, or almost always, take up 2 spots when they charge. And this one has got the same spot we do, so it just counts like a Tesla. And they're being more proactive about dealing with that, as well as with the whole fleet of superchargers and the whole fleet of cars that are inbound that they are aware of. And the existing superchargers are now what they call short cable superchargers for V1 through V3. And the V4 posts or dispensers or whatever they're calling it this week, the V4 interfaces are called long cable chargers. And they're all going to start replacing the existing V3s at least with long cable chargers, as well as replacing whole stations, probably V2s, with the new V4 superchargers that we saw over the last couple of days. Which is
so clever. So clever. Those engineers, they think of everything.
Yeah.
And they also said that within the next 18 months, they believe that they will have over half the current chargers switched over to the long cables. So 18 months. So that's a bit of a push. My question to the two of you is, have you ever seen a V3 that has been upgraded to put longer cables on it? I have not. Is there such a thing?
I thought they were one near you.
No, not a V3 with longer cables. Like they're the regular cables that loop on the inside of the cabinet. That's the regular size.
The whole cabinet. They're not going to replace the cable. It's going to be a V4 interface.
Exactly. I think if the longer cables go in, it has to be a V4 cabinet because they're a little taller. The cable loops down towards the bottom. If you made the cable much longer in a V3 cabinet, it might be scraping on the ground, which of course
would be a problem.
A problem for damage. Yeah.
The pump might not be able to handle it because it's they build the things for the minimum viable product there.
Yeah. So my guess is if they're going to get half of the fleet of superchargers switched over in 18 months, that means that we're going to see V4 cabinets on all of those conversions.
For the V2s, yes, but for the V3s, maybe not, because we already have the V3 Plus today.
Well, no, I think what Mark is saying is that regardless of how much power is coming through it, they might just change it so that the box holds the cable correctly.
Oh yeah. It'll be a V4 post,
and
with the magic dock.
And the minimum viable product is the real MVP.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be that's going to be quite a conversion because V4s or V3.5s, whatever you want to call what's currently in North America, those units have been rolling out, but we've also seen the commissioning of V3 still, as happened here in Kitchener, Ontario. The V3 just came online about 4 weeks ago. So there are different ones that are going on, but it appears that Tesla is going to start pushing these V3.5 or 4 cabinets going forward in order to reach that ambitious number of over half the cables being long within 18 months period. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and the reason I suspect they're going to swap out the V2s is manyfold. I don't know that the V2 cabinets or understand what to do with A, the water cooling, and B, they might not be set up for these systems that are kind of be designed to hook in groups of 4 or 8 rather than 2s. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but I'm just not seeing it. So what we'll probably see is all the ones that need expansion or where somebody's backed them over, and instead of replacing them or repairing them, they'll just swap out the whole thing. Because 18 months is aggressive. But we've seen them do it before. Look how many V3s there are now versus when they first started, what, 2019, 2020?
Yeah, well, once Buffalo switches over and just produces that going forward, then of course we don't know how many of the V3s are still in play or in inventory or have been shipped out to be installed later.
Right now.
Yeah, but it's got to be that that Buffalo is now switched over, I would say exclusively to V4 or V3.5 posts going forward.
Don't forget Shanghai, because you've also got to switch over all. He said the world. So
right, that's true. So that's going to figure into the equation as well. So I don't get to Shanghai much, so I haven't seen what's going on there.
The way they started their post out, they were starting out talking about what they did in Europe with the interoperability. So we know that the short cable stalls in Europe are probably also going to be right up there with us for the early target.
Yeah.
So an interesting perspective to maintain when considering the scope of a challenge like charging at these speeds is a normal house has something like a 200 amp service. That's a pretty normal amount. A 200 amp service at 240 volts only does like 48 kilowatts to the entire house maximum. So when you plug in, if you're getting 350, you're getting, 7 houses worth of power for a short time. And of course it tapers pretty quickly, but
still, that's a lot of power being flowed in to a vehicle.
That's why those cabinets start making noise.
Yeah. The multiple fans and cooling apparatuses kicking on.
Right. When you look at some of the competition, they only put 200 amp cables, period, on their vehicles or on their stations. So that's why you see some of the CCSs will say 300 kilowatts, and then the most anybody can get out of them is like 150 with 800 volt charging, and like 90 with
200 amp service to the entire location.
Cable.
To the cable.
To the cable.
Only take, maximum the table could take is 200.
So 48 kilowatts is if you're lucky. When I drop below about 70, I think, I'll just go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. I enjoy stretching my legs, and I'll probably want a snack.
That's right.
Besides, the next one has homemade fudge.
So as you can tell, Brian has all the Buckies mapped out. He knows exactly where he's going.
Yes.
I actually do. I'm driving out to Muskegon, and I will be diverting to the one in Colorado because my kids have never been, and 2 of my boys are planning to come with me to Muskegon in June for the big event out there.
Fabulous.
And it'll be, they have to experience it. What kind of parent would I be?
The one nearest to this location is also installing on the opposite side of the campus. They're installing the Mercedes chargers. Yeah.
Another note is that Chicago has geared up with a couple of new chargers since last winter's issue that they had near the O'Hare Airport. I believe they opened up another 48 chargers at a single place. So this is they're looking at Chicago and just making sure that things have opened up a little bit. And again, we had that perfect storm last year where many people got into a queue, and that queue allowed people's batteries to cool down and to run down even further. And there was some issues. But having some more chargers in Chicagoland probably will help that issue going forward.
Oh, okay. Speaking of winter, they've also, for some cars, enabled on the latest software update an explicit warm my charge port button up rather than having to rely on cabin heat or the defroster.
Right.
Yep.
I'm curious to see if a solution is made available for the issue of Cybertrucks not being able to clear snow from their headlights. I know
That's all
someone
of the fleet, actually.
in the
So
Northwest group is considering putting in heated tape. That doesn't sound like a logistical nightmare at all.
No, but those things are going to come up. Like we've got a winter in front of us, and now the trucks are being delivered all throughout the U.S. and even to Canada now. We are going to see some winter issues pop up for Cybertruck, and like any other vehicle that Tesla had sold, I know that my charge port in my Model 3 was changed partway through the winter because Tesla discovered that, you know what, things are different in Southern Ontario compared to Southern California. There's a bit of difference when there's a lot of snow and ice in the air, and how our charge port reacts to that is something that we're going to have to rethink. And I hope that Tesla, of course, has learned from this, that all vehicles going forward should have this type of thinking baked into them because they've experienced it with all these models. But there's always things that seem to pop up they have to iterate around and get some changes out there to fix. And the lights may be one of those things.
So I would point out that they did test these vehicles in cold weather. They did take them to Alaska. They took them to New Zealand. But there's a difference between testing when it's cold and slippery versus in the winter, versus driving on the highway on a slushy, freezing rain kind of, winter exists across a spectrum. And a week or two here and there is not going to give you the complete picture. So I agree with you. There are a number of issues that will need to be considered once we understand them better. So it'll be.
I also point out the problem with the Cybertruck headlights is the same on all of the current fleet. The LEDs just don't get warm like that. The difference with the Cybertruck is their headlights are dish-shaped because they're down in the.
Yeah, they're recessed in a nice little. I call it a slushy holder.
Well, yeah, it's a snow cone, is what it is. Absolutely.
The last time they had a vehicle that could address this was the Model S nose cone because it had xenons, and they got a little bit more. It's been many years.
I mean, one solution is they would just have a cover that protrudes to flush, so that. But I don't know. Right, that's the issue. No, you just put a Fresnel lens in there so that you can get a different focus. You can actually turn it into a laser pointer, perhaps. Who knows? All kinds of great possibilities await. And these kinds of issues that crop up during the first year of production is definitely why I didn't buy a Cybertruck, and not because there's no way I could afford one.
Yeah, I think that's a little from column A and a little from column B there, Brian.
No, it's all of column B. I can't. Hey, well, if it had 6 seats, then I could get one. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, right.
Totally.
Right. Well, with that, I think we will wrap this week up. Casey, any shout outs from you this week?
Yeah, catch us Friday for the Tesla Life Express, edition 1. On Sunday over at youtube.com/Casey Green for Let's Chat with Casey and Friends. You may catch some of these folks. You may catch somebody else. Maybe a bye week. And then catch us again on Monday for the Tesla Life Express edition 2. And then 1 week from today, we'll catch you back here live.
That's right, 7 p.m. All releases at 7 p.m. Eastern. And with that, Brian, what do you got to let people know as we close out an episode here?
Hilariously, it's always Patrick's job to mention the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association, but I am also a member of that group, so I will mention it. We have our annual Christmas party coming up on the 12th. It's going to be held at McMiniman Cedar Hills. It is open to all because we're not paying for it. You're paying for it. I'm not sure. Actually, I think we're paying for the, hors d'oeuvres or so. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. Just come join us. We are like-minded folk and we are a lot of fun. Who knows? You might just get to meet me or Patrick or any of the other fascinating people who are a member of the group. And yeah, join us, hang out. It will be fun.
Fantastic. And Brian, what's your channel if people have not heard of it before?
I'm going to have to struggle, but I think it's Futuraza. Although my editor every now and then he's like, "Boy, you must have shot a bunch of videos today because on the 6th one you said my Tesla weekend." Don't worry, I pasted it over with one of the other ones when you're wearing the same outfit. So sometimes when I get tired, apparently I still do that. But yeah, hey man, what are you going to do? So yeah, Futuraza, I make at least 2 videos a day, sometimes more. And I also have now a new thing I'm doing, which is my shorts, my YouTube shorts, instead of just being AI generated garbage, are my jokes from recent shows. So if someone stumbles across my channel and only sees the shorts, they will think it's a comedy channel. And they will experience a very different flavor of disappointment.
So yeah, join Brian for the Futuraza comedy channel that has just started on YouTube Shorts. So be there or be square. With that, I think we will wrap it. We thank you all for watching. If you haven't, please give us a thumbs up. Press that subscribe button if you haven't already. Helps us out immensely. We would really appreciate it. And it costs you nothing. And if you're waiting for it to get cheaper, it's not. It's just going to be that base price. It's free. So join us today. And with that, we'll get together next time and find out what's happening in the Tesla life together. Thanks, Lee Moon, for the music.